Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. And right off the bat, I want to welcome you to a really special deep dive today. We're looking at a comprehensive resource for modern professionals, which is this fantastic article titled Carbon Neutrality Goals, Roadmap to Sustainable Operations.
Yeah, it's a really thorough piece.
It is. It's by Felix Römer, published on smartkeys.org. And our mission today basically is to extract the strategic insights from this roadmap and help you turn these, vague sustainability ambitions into measurable operational actions.
Which I gotta say is exactly the framing we need right now because, well, this isn't just an environmental discussion anymore.
Right.
It's a critical business efficiency and risk management topic. We live in a world with increasing regulations, massive investor pressure. Aligning your everyday operations with a clear emissions plan it's essentially a requirement for survival.
Totally.
It's your competitive advantage going forward.
And honestly, I am so enthusiastic about demystifying this topic today because the corporate world is just drowning in sustainability buzzwords right now. Oh, absolutely drowning.
And those buzzwords, they often obscure real action. Before a business can actually do anything, it needs to understand the target. So let's look at the terms Felix breaks down in the article. What does it actually mean when a company says they are carbon neutral?
Okay, so carbon neutral is basically balancing the carbon emissions you release with removals or offsets. You put a ton of CO2 into the atmosphere, you pay to take a ton out.
Right, like planting trees or something.
Exactly. But then you have net zero, which is a much stricter science-based path, aligns with the 1.5 degrees Celsius global warming limit.
Okay, so how is that different from just being carbon neutral?
Well, net zero requires deep structural reductions across all greenhouse gases. Not just carbon dioxide, but methane, nitrous oxide, you name it.
Right.
And you can only use removals or offsets for the tiny, absolute minimal residuals that you cannot technically eliminate.
Oh, wow, so you have to actually cut your own emissions first. Precisely, you can't just buy your way out of it. And then the roadmap moves on to climate neutral, which is even broader. It means eliminating all greenhouse gas emissions, sure, but also minimizing other environmental harms. Like, you can't hit climate neutral if your factory destroys a local watershed in the process.
That makes total sense. It's more holistic.
It is. And finally, there's climate positive or carbon negative, which means a company is actually removing more CO2 than it emits.
But wait, the article specifically mentions a trap here, right, with the terminology.
Yes, the term carbon positive.
Positive.
It warns against using that phrase entirely. It sounds nice, but it's just confusing marketing fluff.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be used in technical reporting because mathematically adding carbon is a negative thing for the climate. So a company claiming to be carbon positive is either confused or intentionally misleading.
I mean, that is such a crucial distinction for the professionals listening who deal with reporting.
Totally. And this all comes down to a really stark mathematical reality outlined in the text. Listen to this. In 2021, global CO2 emissions were roughly 37.8 gigatons.
37.8, okay.
Yeah. But all the natural sinks on the planet, so the forests, the oceans, the soils, they can only remove about 9.5 to 11 gigatons annually.
Wow.
So we have a massive gap.
Okay, let's unpack this because that is a staggering statistic. I want to use a financial analogy for the listeners right now to really put this in perspective.
Go for it.
So imagine you're running a company, right? And you are burning through a budget. You're spending $37.8 million every single year. But your absolute maximum revenue stream, which in this case is the Earth's natural sinks, it maxes out at $11 million.
Yeah, you are speeding toward bankruptcy.
Exactly. You are insolvent. If you spend $37 million and only make $11 million, you're done. So based on this mathematical gap, is this exactly why the roadmap insists that operational reductions must lead rather than just buying offsets?
Yes. 100%. Because the offset capacity simply doesn't exist on planet Earth to absorb everything we're emitting. The math proves we cannot offset our way out of this.
Yeah.
The business has to reduce its $37.8 million spend, to use your analogy.
Right. Which brings us to the actual tactical roadmap for businesses. Because building directly on that mathematical gap, if we can't offset our way out of this, how does a modern business actually execute these reductions?
Well, the article lays out a very clear sequence, and step one is measure.
Okay, measuring. Where do you start?
You need to gather all your activity data. We're talking electricity bills, fuel logs, supply chain receipts, and you assign them to scopes 1, 2, and 3 under the Greenhouse Gas Protocol to establish a real CO2 baseline.
And scopes 1 and 2 are usually the easy ones, right? Like the gas you burn, the power you buy.
Exactly. It's scope 3 that's the beast. That's your entire value chain, upstream suppliers, downstream product use.
Yeah, gathering that data sounds incredibly difficult.
It requires serious software and data systems for sure, but you have to do it. Because step 2 in the roadmap is reduce first.
Okay.
You prioritize the low-cost wins initially, upgrading lighting, optimizing HVAC systems, procuring clean energy.
The stuff that actually saves money right away.
Right. And then you move to the long-term, structural changes, engaging with your suppliers to force them to cut emissions, redesigning your products to use less carbon-intensive materials.
Well, wait. What if you're a small or medium-sized business? You don't exactly have the leverage to force a massive global supplier to change their operations.
No, you don't. But the roadmap highlights that smaller businesses can achieve this by scaling their actions. You partner up. You work with trade groups and industry coalitions to create shared procurement standards. If 50 medium businesses demand the same emissions cuts from a supplier, that supplier has to listen.
That's a really smart workaround.
It is. And then, only after you have exhausted all of those reductions, do you move to step 3, which is offset or remove.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because when I hear offsetting, I immediately think of corporate greenwashing. It sounds like offsets could so easily be used as a corporate get-out-of-jail-free card, like, oh, we polluted, but we bought some trees, so it's fine.
And that's exactly why the source heavily emphasizes high-quality credits. Offsetting is only for proven, hard-to-abate residuals, things we literally do not have the technology to decarbonize yet.
So how do you prove an offset is high quality?
A few mandatory criteria. First is clear additionality.
Additionality, what does that mean?
It means the project, say, a wind farm or a forest conservation effort, would not have happened without the specific money you paid for the carbon credit.
Oh, I see. So if the forest was already a protected national park, buying a credit there does nothing.
Exactly. It's not additional. The carbon was already staying in the trees. You're just moving money around on a stud sheet.
Right.
So you need additionality, and you need third-party validation to prove it. The credits also have to ensure permanence, meaning the carbon stays out of the atmosphere for a very long time, and ideally they should deliver local community benefits.
So you can't just displace indigenous people to plant a monoculture timber plantation and call it a high-quality offset.
No, absolutely not. Transparent reporting on all these factors is the only way a company can avoid accusations of greenwashing.
Okay, so that's the roadmap. Measure your baseline, reduce everything you structurally can, and then buy high-quality offsets for the tiny remainder.
Yes, that's the blueprint.
But look, while this roadmap makes logical sense, it takes a ton of money and effort to overhaul data systems and redesign supply chains.
Oh, it's a massive undertaking.
So why should a business prioritize this right now? I mean, why not just wait a few years for the technology to get cheaper or the software to get better?
That is the million-dollar question. And the article connects this corporate roadmap directly to sweeping global policy signals. You can't wait because the law won't let you.
Interesting. What kind of policy?
The primary example given is the European Union. The EU has legally binding climate neutrality by 2050. And they have this intermediate plan called Fit for 55, which legally mandates a 55% emissions cut by 2030.
And 2030 is basically tomorrow in corporate planning cycles.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the EU isn't just setting goals. They are implementing specific financial mechanisms to enforce them. The two big ones are the EU Emissions Trading System, or ETS, and the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism.
The CBM.
Yeah, the CBM.
Okay, so how do those actually work?
Well, the ETS is basically an internal carbon market for European industries. It puts a strict shrinking cap on emissions, and companies have to buy allowances for what they emit. It effectively puts a high price on carbon.
Okay, so that affects European companies, but what about everyone else?
That's where CBAM comes in. It's essentially a carbon tariff at the border.
Yeah.
If a U.S. or Asian company wants to export goods into the EU, they have to prove the carbon footprint of those goods.
Oh, wow.
And if that footprint is higher than what a European company produces, or if the exporting company didn't pay a carbon tax in their home country, the EU charges them a tariff to make up the difference.
So what does this all mean, like, for the listener who is managing a U.S.-based manufacturing firm right now?
It means these European policies are effectively putting a price on carbon globally.
Yeah.
If you export to the EU, or even if you just supply parts to a company that exports to the EU, these rules are going to directly change your costs and your sourcing decisions.
So sustainability is no longer just a marketing initiative.
Not at all.
It is a core risk management tool.
Yeah.
Because if you align your business with these net zero expectations now, you're lowering your exposure to these new international taxes.
Exactly. You avoid the tariffs, you prevent supply chain disruptions, and honestly, you satisfy the shifting investor demands. Because investors are looking at these exact same policies and de-risking their portfolios right now.
This early alignment is a massive competitive advantage.
It is the only way to protect your profit margins in the coming decade.
All right, so to close out this deep dive, let's give the listener a practical takeaway. If someone is sitting at the desk right now looking at their operations, what's the forward-looking conclusion based on Felix Römer's article?
The conclusion is that you have to close the loop with a simple, adaptable plan. First, set yearly milestones. Don't just make a vague 2050 pledge. What are you doing this year?
Right. Break it down.
Second, lock in your data systems. Make sure your scope 1, 2, and 3 measurements are as rigorous as your financial accounting.
Yeah, treat carbon like cash.
Exactly. Third, update your plan annually. The policy landscape, like CDAM, is moving fast. You have to watch for regulatory changes and adjust your supply chain accordingly. And finally, celebrate the small wins. It's a long journey, so acknowledge the efficiency gains and keep the momentum going.
That is incredibly actionable advice.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you, the listener, with one final provocative thought to mull over, because there was a specific detail in the text about natural sinks that really caught my eye.
Oh, about the reversal risks.
Yes. The source mentions that natural sinks, like forests, face inherent reversal risks from fires and land use change.
Yeah, that's a huge issue.
So think about it. If a business decides to take the easy way out, if their entire net zero claim relies heavily on buying a massive portfolio of forest offsets instead of actually cutting their own factory emissions, what happens to that company's regulatory compliance and public reputation if that specific forest literally goes up in smoke?
I mean, the carbon goes right back into the atmosphere.
Exactly. Wildfires are increasing globally. If your offset burns down, mathematically, all your corporate emissions return to your ledger instantly. It is a stark reminder of why operational reductions, doing the hard work inside your own walls, is the only truly permanent solution.
It's the only way to truly de-risk your operations. Relying on trees in a warming world is a huge gamble.
It really is. Well, thank you for tuning in to the SmartKeys podcast. We really hope this helped clarify your operational strategy today.
Yeah, it's a complex topic, but so crucial.
Absolutely. So please make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss our future deep dives into the future of work and business efficiency. And we definitely encourage you to read Felix Römer's full article for yourself. The link is right there in the show notes.
Highly recommend checking it out.
Go read it, get those data systems locked in, and we will catch you on the next one.